In Singapore, obviously, we know that we have got 377A, which makes it illegal for men only to be gay.
It has been so long. Goodness me, guys. Don't you think so? It's been weeks since we got behind the microphone again at this beautiful table of ours in front of the cameras. It's season 2 and it is January 2021. And we are back for the first show for season 2 and for the year. For it's in our humble opinion. Ayo! Good to have you guys back, man. Miss you guys so very much. We got to tell the people, our regular viewers and people in our audience, that right now, this show will only be available in full on podcast platforms and on the Happy TV website. So make sure you tune in for the full episode in these places. Is it right for me to say the word places?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
It is, right?
Yeah.
And on my right, and he's back together with the rest of us, the professori, our professori, the man with all the research, Professor Gilbert Chia. I said that right.
Yes.
And on my left, I have the cool grandma, Daisy Irani, who's sometimes quite hot, especially when the AC is off.
Oh, damn.
But today we have the AC on, so she's cool again. Oh. And I am the guy who's a regular butcher in a hawker center who decides to do podcasts every now and then because I'm flanked by 2 celebrities and I'm going to dress like a tangerine today for the upcoming Lunar New Year season so that I can be noticed. I'm too small to be noticed.
Orange, round.
Oh.
Yeah, and we couldn't
doesn't
even
sound right, man. Orange, brown.
And we couldn't even notice you.
Thank you very much, because I haven't told them my name yet. This is Chris Hansen, and I'm also back together with my 2 friends for this show.
Yes.
Nice to have you back, Chris.
Thank you very much.
Nice to be back with you
Handsome
guys.
Chris.
It is nice to be back. Oh, thank you so very much, too. I miss all that, you know. We have got some things to cover today, and it's around paranoia. Mm-hmm. Privacy and paranoia. We'll be talking about, what the conundrum, the kerfuffle is going around about the Trace Together thing. We'll be talking about the kerfuffle that's been going around about WhatsApp and the recent conundrum, so-called, it's been driving people up the wall about. We'll also be talking about our usual, it's going to be a staple now, Kote of the Week. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to talk about what's happening in Malaysia, where the LGBT community is concerned. So, let's kick the show off. Recently, the Trace Together app and token issue has, in Parliament, this thing has blown up. Why? Because it was mentioned when it was questioned in Parliament about the Trace Together app and the platform being used by the police for tracing people for crimes committed. And suddenly, a lot of people in Singapore have gotten quite upset about this. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think?
Daisy, you want to say something that I'll jump in?
Well, that's a first. This new season, I can't take it anymore. I've been invited to speak first. Okay, then I will take it up. And I'll just say that for one thing, the way I look at it is, you're right, the word paranoia does come into it because we have enough methods in technology today, whether it is CCTV cameras or whether it is other means of tracking and tracing criminals. Trace Together, though, started for a very specific reason of protecting oneself, but I don't understand if it is a matter of criminals, rapists, terrorists, and if this can help even a tiny little bit to just accelerate the process of finding the person who's done it. How do you tell the victims no? How do you tell their family we can't use this information? So I think you're right about the paranoia. And it's right for netizens, for people to feel that. Because if you promise something, stick to it. So they too have their side, which they are right about. Having said that, I mean, really, without Trace Together, also the criminals were getting apprehended. So I think if balanced correctly by the government, there was miscommunication. Having said that, I heard that there is going to be a bill passed the moment Parliament sits in the next round, very specifically mentioning that Trace Together will only be used for very specific purposes.
Okay, so let me give the background here. Can you guys hear me? I can't hear myself very well.
We can hear
we
you.
can
Yeah.
hear you.
All right. So first of all, I think it's very important to put things into context, is that there is something called the Criminal Procedure Code in Singapore. It's
Right.
the CPC. And the Criminal Procedure Code very clearly has always been around for a very long time. It's outlined what the police can do in the course of investigations. All right?
Yeah.
So when they came out with the Trace Together token, no one thought, oh, hang on a second, this is actually covered by CPC because it is electronic communication. Okay?
Correct.
So basically, no one went and told people, by the way, we're using Trace Together token only for you to check into places, but because of the existing law of CPC, they can use this and investigate. So it's not as if they then decided they're going to add Trace Together to CPC. CPC always covered all electronic communications. It's another example, the Internal Security Act of Singapore.
Correct.
This covers everything. So what people actually were expecting was that the government should remind people of the existing laws when there's a new initiative. So they came out with Trace Together. They have to remind people, oh, by the way, this is covered under electronic communications by the Criminal Procedure Code, you see.
Yeah.
So the problem was not that they went back and said, oh, we're going to renege on our promise to only use Trace Together for contact tracing. It is that they did not remind people of, no one thought about this, and you think about this was only came to light when the PAP MP Chris D'Souza asked this question in Parliament saying, by the way, isn't this covered by CPC too?
Correct.
Okay, so you can then question why didn't the opposition MPs, who are also lawyers, come up with this question, because they should have realized this as well, right?
But Gilbert, just, sorry to interrupt, but just trying to tell you that the onus of clarifying these things when you are introducing a new gadget like Trace Together does fall on the government.
Sure. No one's disputing that.
So you talk about
But-
it, you say all these things. In fact, if they had not specifically mentioned that this will only be used for the purposes of COVID, nobody might have even said anything.
Exactly. So this is where I'm going to pop my head in right now and say this. Just in a couple of instances, actually, let me just cite a few. Now, personally speaking, I think it's cool to use the Trace Together, especially to keep the citizenry safe.
Yeah.
That's fine. Like what Daisy said, if it's, you're going to find terrorists and all that, why not? Sure,
Rape?
go ahead.
Rape?
Sure, any kind of serious crimes, go ahead. I have nothing against that. But sometimes it's the way things are done. You see, when Trace Together first was released, there was a privacy statement. And the privacy statement on the Trace Together website had earlier said that the data would only be used for contact tracing purposes.
Right.
On 4th of January, they changed it. It was updated. They said now, it clarified how the Criminal Procedure Code, as you rightly said, applies to all data under Singapore's jurisdiction.
Yes.
Trace Together data may be used in circumstances where citizen safety and security is or has been affected. The Singapore Police Force is empowered under the CPC to obtain any data, including Trace Together data, for criminal investigations.
Sure.
However, going back again, in June of last year, during a multi-ministry task force press conference, Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan emphasized, and he said this, and I quote, Trace Together app running on a device and the data generated are purely for contact tracing,
Right.
period.
Yes.
So, it is not, I don't think that it is about whether or not, my privacy is being infringed. I don't think so. I think it's, again, boils down to communication.
Sure. But he spoke in Parliament about this. He apologized.
Yeah, he said this.
You know.
Frankly, and I quote him again.
Yeah.
He said, I quote, "Frankly, and I think members know me well, I'm always very frank. Frankly, I had not thought of the CPC when I spoke earlier." Continuing what he said, and I quote again, "After I realized that the CPC applied to this, I did have sleepless nights wondering, should I persuade my colleagues to change the law? But having thought about it, discussed, consulted people both within and outside this house, I have come to the conclusion that right now we are doing well. I think we are still on the right track."
Right.
End quote. Now, you see, when this thing surfaced, and I had my coffee shop talk with a lot of friends in various coffee shops, and they were talking about this kind of hot topic.
Absolutely.
The point that they raised, most of them, was actually, look, you are a minister, and under you there are perm secs and there are all kinds of brainy people working within your respective ministries. You mean no one picked this up?
But Chris,
Well, okay, I throw the same thing also. I agree with you. I think that how come no one in the opposition brought this up, right?
But
I mean, this is the job of the opposition, is to scrutinize government policy and to point out to flaws. Why was it the PAPMP that questioned this?
Now, I want to bring...
That's where I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
Why even raise the question? Because it already falls under the CPC.
No, okay, so
it opened a can of worms.
Right.
It's unnecessary.
And that's what I was saying. Because
I think that's transparency,
Gilbert.
though.
You see,
to answer
what
his
happens
question is that's transparency.
No, correct,
is that you
but-
have to ask this question.
Correct. But the point is, with the kind of reaction that took place, on a different level, my question would be, do the citizens of this country not trust? Because this matter now is about trust. Yeah, we all know that they might have miscommunicated at that time. We know that it should have been brought up. In fact, now we realize, oh my God, why did you even have to bring it up at all?
You see, I disagree with that.
Brought up. No, but once
I think
brought
it's important to bring it up.
No, but once brought up, and with the realization that they had to take a step backwards, that's when trust issues start coming up, you see. And that's why the flurry. That's why the...
You know why there's no need for that kind of transparency? Because if we're going to talk about transparency at all, this rule, this law, can I call it a law, the procedure code?
It is.
It is, right? Yeah. Okay. Now, this law has always been there. And
What's a set of laws,
before Trace Together, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they can actually confiscate all of your electronic devices.
Yes. And they use that.
And they use your GPS tracking and all that kind of on your phones and stuff. But nobody ever questions that.
Yes.
And nobody sees a need to question it because it's part of the law.
Yes.
Why even ask?
I think that this is the issue, okay? Because people on the ground were already asking, and people on the ground were already making noise. There is this paranoia about technology, which will lead us to our next topic that we're going to talk about. But there is paranoia about technology, and the problem is there is so much misunderstanding, misinformation about technology, and people fall into fear because of this ignorance about technology.
Absolutely.
So you're going to talk about a WhatsApp thing now, is it?
Yes. So this is a good segue into it. I mean, let's just to round off on what we talked about here. I'm glad that they are dealing with it right now. So what they are doing now is they're going back and they're actually amending part of it to say that it is only under serious crimes that the trace together information will be used.
They're actually passing a law which will be formalized. And assurances will be made that the data from the COVID-19 Trace Together contact tracing program will only be used for criminal investigations, which are very, very serious.
So do you think
murder, terrorism, and rape?
So do you guys think that this is the reason why they've held back that they were supposed to launch? This Trace Together only entry.
But
into
I have
most
to
places.
say that if you look online and you look at some of the ignorant comments there, people are already talking about tracking. They don't, even though it has got no GPS and all of that. So I think that there was already a lot of apprehension and fear about this. So this additional thing, when the question was asked, just ignited it. Was a fire that
trust issues again.
Yes.
Trust issues.
And also I think paranoia as well. So anyway, let's go now to this whole other big issue, which is the global issue of WhatsApp. as I'm sure many of our listeners and viewers know, is that there was a maelstrom of controversy because WhatsApp said that they were going to be sharing information with Facebook, right, which owns WhatsApp. And a lot of people are jumping on it. So let me just make some factual points first, all right? And I think that this is very important, is that actually in 2016, in 2016, WhatsApp already had put up a disclaimer on the website saying we're going to be sharing information with Facebook and you can opt out of it if you choose to. If you did not opt out of it in 2016, and many of us did not because who
We
reads
weren't
these things,
aware.
right? Since 2016, your data has already been shared by Facebook all this time.
Absolutely.
All right? So everyone who joined after 2016 has had their data shared with Facebook this entire time.
What's the data that's being shared?
Okay, that's a very important point, okay? So let's just put it this way. First of all of this noise is ridiculous because your data has been shared for the past 4 or 5 years already. And what they're doing now is they're saying, okay, because of this, I'm going to delay it. All they're delaying, it's not the sharing the data because data has always been shared. What they're delaying is asking you to accept the terms or to lose your rights to WhatsApp. They're saying, okay, we're going to let you have time to go and digest the terms that we've written.
So they wanted to provide transparency, disclosure.
Yes.
This is a bit exactly like the
Not
topic.
Back in
Like,
2016,
they've
back in
already-
2016,
yeah.
they already had told people,
Yeah.
read this.
No,
this is
but
what
they
we're going to be
brought this up,
doing.
that new
They brought
terms
this
and
up-
conditions
They
again.
brought this up again this time because they're saying we are going to remove your right to choose. Basically, that means to say because
Sign in or out.
yeah, because you need to have the legal sign in. But the fact is, your data has already been shared for the past 5 years. You see?
So it's either take it or leave it.
Yes, take it or leave it.
So people actually took it quite literally and take it or leave it. They got upset.
So let me read this to you because I think it's very important, all right? Is that the data they're sharing has got nothing to do with the messages that you're sending. That is encrypted end to end, okay? What they are sharing basically with Facebook is what kind of device are you using? What kind of operating system are you using? What kind of mobile network are you using? What language are you using? What time zone are you in, basically? So it is about how you communicate,
Right.
not what you're communicating.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? That's very important for you guys to understand. Facts are facts. Go back and go and do your own research and find out basically. It is identifying, are you using an iPhone, are you using an Android, are you using your laptop to communicate, what's your battery health, what app version are you using? So it's using very general
But why do they want to
information.
find out, information like that, for
They
example?
need this because of all of the kind of planning they're doing internally, because Facebook now owns WhatsApp, to know, okay, so how many % of our readers are actually using the desktop? It's a very small percentage. A lot of them using Android, some of them. So therefore, do we develop more on the desktop? How's the
Gilbert,
demand there?
Right.
Can I
You get
can
what
I
I'm
just
saying?
can I just say something
Yeah.
about this? You mentioned a couple of things.
Yeah.
First of all, 2016. I mean, when the news came out that we could use WhatsApp and some of the functions where families could get together and
Yeah.
we found our schoolmates from eons ago and we all got on WhatsApp and we'd communicate. And that video, oh my God, where you can see your granddaughter playing every morning, cooing and all. But so first of all, they made you totally dependent on it. I mean, WhatsApp has become such an integral part of your life. But where I'm talking about is this whole mentioning of, the messages are encrypted. It's encrypted. Now, I'm thinking, all right, where the fear comes in is, again, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I believe with all this technology, all these encrypted messages, if they really want to decrypt it, absolutely can be done.
No.
Wait. Second. No, I agree. I truly believe. And the second thing that I also want to bring up is that now we are aware that there are algorithms which have been put in by Facebook, which do, with all this artificial intelligence and algorithms, where they pick up the keywords. And we are aware now that these keywords...
Not on your WhatsApp messages. On Facebook, yes.
Correct. But once Facebook takes over WhatsApp, you've signed...
They already own WhatsApp.
No, so you've signed these agreements which have got so many pages and such small font anyway, you don't know what the hell you're signing. And in those days when you were communicating with your friends, you never thought
Yeah, but
about
Daisy, again,
data mining and privacy.
Yeah. But again, you're
So-
throwing up a lot of stuff, and I need to clarify this. Okay, there is a big difference
So you're
between.
scared.
Yes,
There's fear.
But the fear is based out of ignorance.
Unfounded.
So I'm trying.
I
to,
agree. It's unfounded.
Yes, unfounded. Let me explain to
But
you.
then how do they know the keywords? How do the algorithms
It's not
work?
through your WhatsApp chats. It is through your Facebook.
Yeah, but once Facebook, which
And
is
it's through
bought
your
over
email.
by
Yeah, but
WhatsApp,
the information-
they can do the same.
No.
But the
no,
information
no,
is
no.
about the device you use, you know.
Yes.
But that's what
and-
they're saying now.
No.
No, I doubt
Let
it.
me teach you something,
doubt it.
right?
Isn't it like the trace
Encryption-
together?
No,
No, it's not.
Encryption is a scientific way of encrypting data
Yeah.
that even the FBI and CIA cannot crack.
Yes.
That is how secure it is.
Yes,
Okay.
but the people who made it secure,
No.
They don't know how to
No, they don't know. Because it is open source. That's the thing. It means that anybody can look at the technology and they understand
that's what they
that.
said before the hackers moved in.
No, but
Gilbert.
it is open source.
This is exactly the kind of
Example.
rampant exactly.
No, but
What
okay.
about this? What
Okay,
about that?
But let me tell you something for the record, okay? The fact is, right now, because of the utility of WhatsApp, right now I would not possibly give it up. Because, like you correctly said, after knowing that whatever information was supposed to be passed on has already been
Okay.
passed on,
Yes.
the fear now is what happens next.
Okay.
Well, you
as
see-
I have said to you. Okay, sorry, Chris, you go ahead.
And more and more people have, there's been a surge, big, huge surge for Telegram, downloads of Telegram, the app Telegram.
Okay.
And the
And Signal.
Okay.
Signal.
But
This
Signal is the
no,
same
please,
guy of
please,
WhatsApp.
No, it's not. Please
Brian
let
Acton.
me then let me then explain this because this is so important, right? This is exactly what I
stuck in the middle.
mean about a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. So everyone panicked about this, right? So what they've done is they've rushed over to Signal and to Telegram. Now,
haven't yet,
Signal has got very good security, all right? It is also end-to-end encrypted. And its encryption is open source, which means it can be examined for vulnerabilities by security experts. All right. WhatsApp's end-to-end encryption is proprietary. All right, but both are
Belongs to
end-to-end.
Facebook.
But both are end-to-end encrypted, meaning your content is safe. So everyone's jumped over now to Telegram, for example, right? Telegram is not end-to-end encrypted.
It's not.
Telegram is actually less secure.
It is, yes.
Your data can be hacked by hackers.
Yep.
You know.
But
So-
Signal is the same guy Brian Acton, who owned WhatsApp, correct?
He sold it.
Yeah, so he sells WhatsApp, he starts Signal, everybody takes the Signal, runs off to Signal if they want
That's
to.
why it's safer, because the same guy who built WhatsApp knows that he has to have end-to-end
but
encryption
he
for the
sold-
next app.
Yeah, but he sold WhatsApp. What's to say he doesn't sell Signal?
But Daisy,
So Daisy, if you're going to take that WhatsAppism, right, then don't do anything.
no,
Don't
I'm
go
not.
onto Facebook.
I'm yet on WhatsApp only. I'm not doing anything. I'm
no,
just
but you're-
bringing this
but- yeah,
up
but I'm saying that
about
you're-
the fear.
Yeah, but the
of
fear
people
is
like us.
irrational.
Can I
That's
tell
why-
you guys- can I tell you guys-
Please tell your friends.
this whole
Hear the right things.
this whole thing about algorithms
You know?
reading your
Keywords.
reading things that you like. Not just keywords, man. I mean, even if you go shopping, they can read, and then all of a sudden you see all the stuff that you're looking for pops up.
Yeah,
Now,
yes,
to me, I'm happy with that, because it helps me out.
Yep.
It really is convenient for me, and I like to see the things I like popping up.
Yep.
And so to me, honestly, and plus, unless you got nude pictures of yourself and yourself in compromising positions in your WhatsApp, in your WhatsApp media, then maybe you worry.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah,
have to
but
worry
why
about
not?
that anyhow.
But
But
then
why
again,
not?
even then, unless the CPC comes on, is thrown at you that they have got to see your data.
No,
no
see-
one else can see.
all
it.
they need
Chris,
to do
you
is
see,
confiscate your phone.
data-
Yes, exactly.
And
no,
then
no.
you
use what is the fear? I tell you. I mean, I'm a grandma and I might not know as well as y'all. But let me
That's
tell
why
you.
lah.
You see, information is king. Information can be used as leverage.
Yeah,
there
of
are
course.
taboo areas that you're talking about. Okay? And that can be documented and could be used against you. It's not so simple as, oh, we've encrypted everything, don't worry, safe. Then why are you making us sign all these things?
Honestly,
But
I
Daisy,
really think
that again.
this is a mountain that's been built out
Yeah,
of nothing, frankly.
exactly. It really is.
And you know what, guys? I'm still going to be on my WhatsApp, and by the way...
So am I, but these questions need
Yeah.
to be answered.
And
Yeah.
I'm answering them for you, but
Yes,
you see, the
you're
thing
doing a good
is,
job.
you're throwing out more stuff which is not
Okay, now
important.
moving along.
Okay,
Anyway,
you're
I downloaded
right.
Signal.
You're right. Oh, there. He just look at this guy. He just mentioned
Moving
about
on.
WhatsApp, and he's signaling that he's already downloaded
I am just
Signal.
typically Singaporean kiasu
For those
as
of
well.
you,
Yeah, okay.
for those of you who have downloaded Telegram, please go and do your research again. It's not more secure. It doesn't have end-to-end encryption.
Yep, that's
So-
true.
Oh, really?
You
It
know,
does
you're
not.
basically jumping out of the frying pan into the fire.
So I'm better off with WhatsApp right now, Gilbert. I won't move till you give me the signal.
So,
Okay.
Good pun, Dave.
yeah, exactly. Let's move on.
Okay,
Let's talk
move
about
on.
our Kote
Let's not
of the
get
week.
paranoid.
Oh, yes, my favorite
Yes.
test.
Kote of the week. I got a lot to say about this, so you guys got to bear with me. Yeah?
Okay.
There's a man in Hougang, 57-year-old gentleman, who called the police about 80 times a year over the noise he believes his neighbor is making upstairs. Now, this guy claims that this neighbor have been moving, dragging chairs along the floor, slamming his doors, etc.,
Hearing
etc.
children.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the cops been coming around. They have to, right? But when they come around, they agree that that the neighbors upstairs are not causing
And
any
the neighbors
nuisance.
upstairs are elderly couple.
Elderly, 70-plus-year-olds
Yeah.
with grandchildren that come to visit all the time. Yeah. Now, they claim that no, we are not causing it. They've gone the distance by even putting paddings on the legs of the chairs and tables and
Yeah,
furnishings
yeah,
and stuff, right? And they also have door stoppers so the kids won't just indiscriminately, even if it's, probably the kids don't mean it, right? And slam doors and shut and all that and causing disturbances. Now, what do you guys think? Do you think this is a bit excessive?
I think it definitely is excessive, and I think that there's obviously something strange there, because I can understand even once a week if you call the police, that's already excessive. But 80 times a year, that's crazy. That's and it makes you wonder basically that what is actually happening there,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
The interesting thing is that in HDB flats, as in many multi-story buildings, you hear noises that you think are coming from directly upstairs, but which actually are not coming from upstairs. There's a very interesting phenomenon which I've heard before many times in my own flat, and it's actually very creepy. In the middle of the night, you hear marbles dropping, right? But you know what it actually is? It's actually just the pipes expanding.
Really?
Yes. And the metal expanding makes a sound that sounds like marbles. But and people have gotten furious at their neighbor and gone and banged on doors saying, "Why are you dropping marbles at night?" Sleepy neighbors, what are you talking about? So this happens basically. So
I
it could be strange acoustics in this guy's place, or it's got a poltergeist.
No, but I hear this exactly. I hear this.
Yeah.
So for
Or
many
Antu.
years, I was the executive producer of a show called Incredible Tales, where we had all these ghost stories. And when I read this kind of thing, especially furniture moving and sounds and and little children laughing, ha ha ha, that for me would be a
We should-
perfect story for
we-
Incredible Tales.
We should have a show, an episode where we talk about this kind of stuff. It's so cool.
So it
well,
is. Actually, I feel for the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, he's
so
not doing this
sensitive
for
to sound.
attention,
Yeah, so you do feel, because there must be some kind of pain that is driving him so crazy to sit calling the police for so.
Either that or he's very sensitive to sound.
That's what he's so sensitive
let
to
me tell
sound.
you. Let me tell you a true story. Okay, this is really real. When I was living with my mom in my teens, we always noticed someone, and I really mean this, man, slamming doors shut every other half hour or so.
What, in your house?
No.
Oh.
In the neighbor's house.
I mean, really deliberately slamming the front door. Now, so we kept wondering, who's doing that all the time? It's really a disturbance. Really, really it is, yeah? And then my fourth floor neighbor came upstairs to ask us, why are you people always slamming the door? I said, look, listen, man, it's not us. Can't be. It's so loud. It must be from your house. No, it's not. Now, my mother, being the investigative person that she is, she actually took a walk upstairs. And lo and behold, red-handed, she actually saw the 8th floor neighbor. We live on the 5th floor, right? The 8th floor neighbor slamming the door shut.
Wow.
Now that's 3 floors above. And then we actually saw it happen. Then we know that our 4th floor neighbors, down to the 1st floor neighbors, and even those above her, all can all actually feel that disturbance
Right,
is awful, right? So, I mean, long story cut short is that my neighbor downstairs thought it was us. And then when we actually spoke to that family, and all we had was just verbal insults being thrown back at us, you know? So it's obvious that these people are rather nasty.
Yeah.
To
So
the point-
sound travels.
Yeah, and then to the point where, right or wrong, all of us neighbors from the first floor, second floor, all the way up to my level and even above us, came to confront this family very nicely, and only to get hurled more abuse. So we told the cops about this, but the best part was all of us were talking about this in one of the houses. All of us were just congregating in that house, having coffee and tea. How are we going to resolve this? Neighborly, being neighborly. But the cops came with a riot,
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Black Maria,
Wow.
and told us to disperse because that neighbor knew
That's
that we
terrible.
you were-
yeah. So they couldn't have that,
Well,
But anyway,
Ridiculous.
this is making a mountain out of a
and the
molehill.
door,
Yeah.
her main door was like shredded, man, because of all that slamming.
That's an angry
why-
person.
why-
We could not resolve this. We couldn't
Yeah.
resolve it.
But until his door
Nobody
fell down.
could- No,
Oh, it
until they
didn't?
moved out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we lived with that,
But as far
That's
as
terrible.
Kotek is concerned, I would suggest just get earplugs. I mean, that might just help a little.
Or
Well,
really
you
find
know-
out exactly where the source is coming
Yes.
from.
There's that old saying that when one door closes and another
Another
one opens,
opens, yeah.
it means your house is haunted.
Back to Incredible Tales. I'm putting all these stories down for the future. Huh?
Hantu lah.
Happy TV, Gilbert, Happy TV will make a ghost show.
Okay, let's move on to our.
Another kind of horror.
Yeah, man. I think
this
so.
is different level.
The Malaysian government, they might
Yeah.
be considering heavier punishments for the LGBT-related offences. And this was raised by their DPM. So the guy says that the current penalties do not have much effect on LGBT people. He also noted that the current penalties under the Sharia courts Criminal Jurisdiction Act, also known as Act 355, did not appear to have much of an effect on this community. The current penalties are an imprisonment term of up to 3 years, a fine of 5,000 ringgit, and 3 strokes of
Six
the
strokes.
cane. Six strokes, I
of
beg
the
your pardon. 6 strokes of the cane.
Yes.
Now, let's discuss this.
This is a part of an unfortunate trend in some Islamic countries. Brunei is one that had a strict Sharia law being imposed. Saudi Arabia obviously has got that as well. This is obviously regressive. And it's unfortunate. I don't quite know. I think that in any country with any kind of religious fundamentalism, you will see a push from some factions onto this. In Singapore, obviously, we know that we have got 377A, which makes it illegal for men only to be gay, not for women, which is very bizarre because they threw out the part about the women being illegal when Parliament met and discussed this. I think it was 2006, but they kept the part for men. So it's very illogical. And I think any kind of homophobia, any kind of discrimination like this is always illogical. It is based out of ignorance and fear and religiosity.
But I'd like to understand something about this. This particular act of theirs, is it only exclusive and limited to Muslims?
No,
No?
not at all. No,
No, this is
it's anyone
a
there.
law for
Yeah.
the country.
So
of
even
Malaysia.
if it's a person of another religion.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
yes.
because Malaysia, the religion of the country itself is
Yeah,
Islam.
official
So
Islam.
once you
Yes.
come and live there, you live under those laws.
It's the same thing, I say, in Papua New Guinea, in parts of Papua New Guinea. So it's which is under Indonesian law. They have that the Aceh province that is also having Sharia.
Very strong.
Now
Yeah.
this guy, this Malaysian DPM, is saying that they're already going to take action for those in the Klang Valley.
Yeah, which is Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah. For those who cross-dress, Is that the right term for me to use without being rude? Okay. So what else? I mean, what other kind of
anything,
wrongdoings are we
basically.
talking
So
about?
the
Like
thing is when
men
you've
holding
got-
hands together
Yeah,
in
see,
public?
the thing is, when you've got this kind of a law, then it applies very broadly. It could be anything. If you've got a gay club or bar where there are gays and lesbians who congregate, that could be part of the penalty. If two men are found to be living together, that is part of the penalty. So it is very dangerous. It is very dangerous when the state intervenes into people's private lives in this way.
Well, you can have two straight guys living together in the same apartment because they're flatmates.
Yeah,
So
but of course, they can easily bust in and,
what is a hell of an assumption, isn't
But
it?
there's another point I want to make, you see, because the minister also encouraged members of the public
Yes.
to make reports against each people to the nearest religious department
Yes,
if they
yes.
had knowledge of such activities.
which is
Now,
really
for me,
terrible.
This is a
Whistleblowing.
slippery
Yes.
slope.
Yes.
Because the moment you ask people to tell on each other,
exactly. It's like
it
North
opens
Korea.
itself a host of abuses.
Absolutely.
You're
And you look
breaking
through
trust
history. Yeah.
between neighbors, and
It's-
this is just going to go down a very, very dark place.
Yes.
This reminds
absolutely.
me. This reminds me of what I've heard about. Stories during World War II, right? And occupation in Singapore.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
When you have neighbors who don't get along with each other, friends, people who don't get along, they just
turn
have
them
someone
in.
they
Just go
have a
in, yes.
problem with,
Yeah. Yes.
and they just report to the Japanese.
Yep.
You
If you look through
occupiers.
world
This guy's a
history-
collaborator, or this guy's
Yep,
a spy, or this guy is.
Chris, very recently, even in the Philippines, when they started this whole drug situation where they would, you can kill anybody who you think is carrying drugs, and people misuse that.
Yep.
And the person on the other side
Yeah,
is
it can be
always
abused.
left
Yeah.
trying
Absolutely.
to
Yep.
justify that
Yeah.
they were not doing it.
Yeah. It can
So,
be abused.
this is really regressive, it's unfortunate, and it has to be condemned. I think that, certainly...
I mean, don't you think it's about the same thing as what all that hate and fear mongering, and under the guise of being righteous, just like what Trump tried to do.
Yes, absolutely. And thank God we're rid of that cancer, that tumor in American
No,
politics.
but- I'm wearing orange
just
today.
getting rid of him, you know how deep
Yes,
this
exactly.
has gone.
Well,
this,
someone said,
this malice and anger.
The tumor is gone, but the cancer has spread to
Yeah.
other people
Yes,
there. So,
yes. And you've got only 4 years
And-
to remove it.
Well,
That's going to be
good luck,
really
President
challenging.
Biden. And
Yeah,
we-
he
all
needs lots of that.
goodwill
Man.
from us.
I mean, his
to
first
you.
day in office after his inauguration, just right after his inauguration, he signed a hell of a lot of new executive orders
17,
to
I
just
think, yes.
undo the
including
shit
one,
Trump done.
including one that prohibits discrimination in federal agencies towards LGBTs.
You know something, man? You know what? During Trump's tenure, you know what I really hated the most about what he'd done? What he did to the immigrants.
Oh yes, the separation of the children.
Children.
Oh, that was terrible. Keeping them in cages.
Everyone's in cages, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was really painful to watch.
and I cannot believe.
And there are so many of them. I think how many of them? 300 over there, are still not reunited with their parents 4 years later.
500 plus.
500 plus.
Not reunited with
It's
their
terrible.
parents.
Yeah, but he's promised to be back
So
in some way or the other.
Well,
Well,
I think-
he should be. He'll be back, but behind bars. I hope.
Hasta la
hope
vista.
so, yeah.
No, look at his farewell. Did you guys watch his farewell speech?
yeah, it's all about him.
Yeah, and not just that, man. He started it off with, trying to show that I don't condone violence, blah, 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 only to go and segue into, but we started a great movement.
Yes, exactly. All
you know.
falsehoods. You want to talk about, we have Kote of the Week. I vote him Kote of the past 4 years.
Good thing of the century. How about that one?
Yeah, but we can call him a big cote, but I don't want to give the guy any kind of compliment.
Yeah, exactly.
He's
President Tiny Hands.
Oh my God. Okay.
So,
all right.
okay, we should wrap up now.
Yeah, we should, we
Basically,
should.
On that, then.
Okay, I'm just Daisy's gonna close the show, so I'm just gonna give my usual song quote. Then Gilbert will take over with with what you have to say goodbye for this episode.
then I can close.
Then Daisy can close this.
Yes.
Okay, I have this quote from a song that was made famous a long time ago in the '80s by this artist named Rockwell, and the song is called "Somebody's Watching Me."
Oh, yes.
Since the whole theme
Very
of today is
creepy
about
song.
paranoia
That
and privacy,
sounds
right?
Very, yes.
And it goes something like this. I'm just an average man with an average life. I work from 9 to 5. Hey, hell, I pay the price. All I want is to be left alone in my average home. But why do I always feel like I'm in a twilight zone? I always feel like somebody's watching me and I have no privacy.
Those are the guys who are pushing the furniture.
The irony is that that's truer today than ever before.
Yeah, and it was written like 20 years ago.
You
Yeah.
know, it's one thing about your own government and Big Brother watching
30
you.
years ago.
Now it could be FB as well.
Oh, come on, will you?
But it's true though. That's the thing.
Well, yeah, okay, but as long as you give me the stuff that I like to see
Yeah,
on
We are
the
going
go.
to end.
Exactly.
And over to you, Gilbert.
So I feel that let me just say this: there is nothing honorable or positive about leading a life of ignorance, and many people out there, unfortunately, choose to live a life of ignorance. And when I talk about ignorance, I talk about believing stuff that is not true, and misinformation and disinformation are so dangerous. And at a time in our history when we have got more information than ever before at our fingertips, people are choosing to believe just the small bits that they're getting which support their worldview, and this is very dangerous. So let's all be a light onto the world to not believe misinformation, to understand things before you take a stand. That is so important.
He sounds like Biden's speech.
Yeah, well,
for
that's
the
a good one.
inauguration. Light
And
the world, beacon of hope.
I do agree with you, and about the miscommunication and about the ignorance. And so we see, last year has been full of confusion and fake news and disinformation. So let me quote you T.S. Eliot for my wish for all of us in 2021. Last year's words belong to last year's language. Last year's words belong to last year's language, and next year's words await another voice. And to make an end is to make a beginning. So here's praying for beautiful new beginnings.
Them cheap, man.
Chinese New Year coming up.
And you know what? It won't be
New
Omar
Year.
Khayyam this year. It'll be T.S. Eliot.
So I'd like to end by telling you, please go to the platforms where you can hear In Our Humble Opinion, like it, give us feedback, let us know what you like, not like, and we'll wait for next week to give you another fabulous show. So namaste and see you soon.
And Daisy will buy you lunch if you give any comment. Bye, everybody.